In the year 2000, a quiet suburb in New Jersey became the center of a Wall Street mystery. A 15-year-old boy, armed with nothing but a dial-up internet connection, discovered a hidden weakness in the financial system. He exploited it over and over, turning a few $100s into more than 800,000 before the government came knocking. This is the story of Jonathan Lebed, the teenager who beat Wall Street from his bedroom. Jonathan Lebed was born in 1985 in Cedar Grove, New Jersey, a middle-class neighborhood where nothing ever made headlines. He was a typical kid. He played sports, hung out with friends, and got decent grades. But while most kids his age were saving lunch money for video games, Jonathan was obsessed with something else: the stock market. At 13, he convinced his parents to let him open an online brokerage account under their name. After school, while his friends played basketball, he'd rush home, fire up his computer, and dive into Yahoo Finance chat rooms. These were the Wild West days of the internet. No filters, no oversight, just thousands of traders posting opinions, rumors, and hype. At the turn of the millennium, online trading was exploding. Anyone with a computer and a few $100s could suddenly buy and sell stocks. Chat rooms and message boards became digital gold mines for tips. But behind the excitement, there were no clear rules. The SEC, America's financial watchdog, hadn't yet figured out how to police the internet. To many, it felt like a playground with no referees. And to one 15-year-old, that meant opportunity. Jonathan started noticing a strange pattern. Some of these small, low-volume stocks could skyrocket from just a handful of online posts. The prices weren't driven by earnings or company news. They were driven by hype. If enough people believed a stock was going to moon, it actually would, at least for a few hours. Lebed realized something most adults didn't. Market psychology mattered more than fundamentals, and with the right words, he could control that psychology. His method was simple, but brilliant. First, he'd buy shares of a tiny penny stock, maybe 5,000 or 10,000 shares worth just a few cents each. Then he'd post upbeat, persuasive messages on Yahoo Finance and Raging Bull forums. He'd claim major investors were about to pile in, or that the company had a huge contract pending. Other traders, eager not to miss the next big thing, would rush to buy. Prices would jump 20%, 50%, even 200% within hours. And when they did, Jonathan sold. He called it momentum. The SEC called it manipulation. The first time he tried it, he made a few $100s. The second time, a few thousand. Soon he was making more in a week than his teachers earned in a month. $12,000 on one stock, $24,000 on another, $74,000 in a single day. By age 15, Jonathan Lebed had quietly earned over $800,000 trading from his bedroom, all before he was old enough to drive a car. He didn't flaunt it at school. Most of his classmates didn't even know. To them, he was just the quiet kid who spent too much time online. But while Jonathan was counting profits, someone else was counting patterns. Analysts at the SEC had begun noticing strange trading behavior. Stocks that hadn't moved in months were suddenly exploding, and then crashing just as fast. Each time, the same alias appeared on the message boards. Lebed Jonathan. It wasn't exactly a master disguise. Investigators traced the IP address. It led to a quiet suburban home in Cedar Grove. The SEC couldn't believe it. A 15-year-old was outsmarting professional traders. In the same year, federal investigators showed up at the Lebed family's door. His parents were stunned, their teenage son accused of manipulating the U.S. stock market. Jonathan was ordered to stop trading. The government seized records of every trade he'd made. For the SEC, this was new territory. Never before had they gone after someone this young, or for something done entirely online. The case exploded in the media. Some headlines painted him as a criminal mastermind. Others saw him as a symbol of a new generation, challenging the old system. Critics asked, how could a teenager move markets if those markets were truly efficient? Supporters argued he was just better at reading crowd psychology than the professionals. Even within the SEC, there was debate. There were no specific laws covering online stock promotion at the time. Had he really broken the law, or just exposed how fragile the market had become? Jonathan's lawyer made a bold argument. If a Wall Street analyst can go on TV and call a stock a buy, that's legal. So why is it illegal when a 15-year-old says it on the internet? The SEC had no clear answer, but they couldn't ignore the headlines. After months of back and forth, Jonathan reached a settlement. He agreed to pay $285,000 in restitution, about one-third of his total gains. No criminal charges were filed. He didn't admit wrongdoing, and he got to keep the rest. The SEC closed the case, but it became a landmark in financial history. The first time they had successfully prosecuted online stock manipulation. After the settlement, Jonathan returned to high school. He kept trading, this time legally. He later launched newsletters, radio shows, and market commentary sites. He never again reached the same fame or infamy as that first run. But his case became a cautionary tale for regulators and traders alike. Some see him as a pioneer of internet-era finance, others as the first digital scammer. But everyone agrees, Jonathan Lebed changed the game. Jonathan's story was about more than money. It was the moment Wall Street realized the battlefield had moved online. From chat rooms to Reddit, from Yahoo Finance to Wall Street bets, the spirit of the bedroom trader still lives on, a world where ordinary people can move billions with just a few keystrokes. Jonathan Lebed was the first spark in that revolution. 2 decades later, when a group of small traders on Reddit sent GameStop soaring and hedge funds collapsing, it felt familiar. A reminder that markets aren't controlled only by suits and skyscrapers. They're powered by people. He was just 15. He didn't have a degree, a mentor, or a Wall Street job. Just a computer, curiosity, and the courage to test the system. This was the story Jonathan Lebed, the kid who hacked Wall Street. If you find this video interesting, make sure to subscribe, where we will be uncovering more stories like this.